Well, hello again, and welcome back to the Wives Club. My name is Margaret Brown, and just like you, I am a fellow patron of Kevin Samuels, and I'm just an average woman who booked a session with Mr. Samuels to ask permission to stand up a community of like minded women within the privacy of the Patreon group. He's given us permission and actually coined the name the Wives Club. So we are here for former wives and current wives and future wives. And I'm just trying to do my part to improve our ethnic image, improve the pool of marriage minded women, and learn and share with each other so that we can all have better outcomes. I'm looking forward to increasing the community and making this more interactive. So stay tuned. And if anybody would be interested in having a conversation in real time, panel style, please let me know. So, what we do here is we use Kevin's shows as a lesson plan. I've taken some notes here. I usually have about 10 things that were takeaways for me. And, would love to hear what your takeaways were, any lessons learned, action items that you would want to share. So, a little bit about me. I'm 45, I'm in the Atlanta area, and I am a divorcee. I was married for 10 years at the age of 25. Two children from the marriage. I have two boys, a high schooler and a middle schooler. Since the divorce, I've been in another long term relationship for 10 years with a high value man. So I don't have a lot of dating experience, but I do have relationship experience and made a lot of mistakes and still struggle with some things. So this is our safe space to learn and grow together. Let's go ahead and get started. So, Kevin's most recent show on YouTube, I believe, was called Do High Value Men Control Women? Another striking title. And for me, this is one of the best shows that I've heard. I had not really heard much about, the controlling complaint. I know sometimes as women, we have a lot of things that we complain about, but the controlling one, that was to get our attention. And then, Kevin wrapped up the show with, basically our mindset is what is controlling us. So, number one, some notes that I took. Kevin started off by reading an article, and one of the complaints that is now happening with average women and actually spilling over to, women that would consider themselves, I think he said pretty or beautiful, is there's a lack of dates. And why is that? Bottom line, a lot of the times what we want is unrealistic. Kevin talked about this. This is my number 2 point. He talked about the 80-20, and, we think about the 80-20 rule that we hear about all the time. But basically, what he was saying in the show, if you haven't watched it yet, 80% of women want 20% of men. That top 20%, basically, we all want the same guy. We all want that Will Smith, in our lives. And, that's great to be a high value man or a man of means or a man of value. But here we appreciate and we respect all men. And the end of the show was very, very powerful for me when Kevin talked to the young brother who asked, what can average men ask for? Kevin has always talked about how our Hispanic brethren, they have loyalty from their wives. And, it's not about finances. It's really about the way that their women view them and the mindset that they have. Number three, I took a note about the emphasis on sex. I'm trying to remember what this one was about. But, Kevin has said and did say that as women, sometimes we put a lot of emphasis on, I'll say it delicately, what we're sitting on. And, Kevin uses humor to get his point across when he talks about, it's standard on all models. And, that's great. Intimacy is great. But what are we doing to stay competitive, to stand out? And, what I've learned is that it really depends on the man that you have or that you want to have. We do need to be custom built for them. I'll give you an example. one of the things that, my man has, complimented me on and is important to him is the type of mother that I am and how nurturing I am. And, it doesn't really have to make sense from one guy to another, but if that's important, the way that I keep a home and the way that I am, chief of staff is the label that we've given it. That's important to him. So I make sure that I emphasize on that. Of course, sex is a part of it, but it would be inauthentic of me to try and act like a seductress, right? That's not who I am. I think the biggest takeaway for me in the call, Kevin talked a lot about self awareness, and there's so much that we can move past when we're just honest about who we are and who we are not. Number four, Kevin talked about men like women who like them. This one really struck me. And ladies, it just comes down to, are we devoted to our men? I'm a hopeless romantic, but I do have common sense, right? But Kevin has said, I think he said towards the end of the show when he was talking to the young brother, men equate respect with love. So you can tell a man all day long that you love him, but if you don't show respect, in private and in public, that chips away at the love that we profess to have, for them. So, one of the things that I've learned, and it comes easy for me, some things come easy, some things I have to work on, but I give compliments all the time, even if, I've said it before, even if I think he knows it. I want him to hear from me. I tell him, I'm proud of you. I love you. I respect you. I am in awe of you. I support you. I pray for you. I belong to you. I just pour that on him. And, the first time it was kind of like, okay, that's kind of a bit much. It's a bit weird, but I want him to know whenever he goes out there into the world that there's a woman that thinks the most and the best and highly of him. So, ladies, we all have our accomplishments, and we've got to push our pride to the side and go ahead and communicate to your man that you're attracted to him, that you believe in him. Do it in your own way, but make sure he hears it from you. Okay, number five. Kevin talked about the 1% and the 99%. And I think this goes back to, those of us as women, we want that, 1% of men. So what I'll share with this is if you turn the percentages over, what we have to realize is that as women, it's kind of like a very sad irony, our options decrease as we get older, and as men, their options increase as they get older. And I was having this conversation with my man, and I shared it on a previous video. I think he's incredibly handsome, but again, self awareness. He's not, somebody that you would stop dead in your tracks when he walked in the room. And, we've talked about, because we've known each other for decades, how some of the same women who wouldn't, give him the time of day or try to chump him off, now that, he says all the time, just keep living, right? Now that life has kind of caught up with them, now they're taking a second look and wanting to shoot their shot, but it's too late. So what he shared with me, and I'll share with you ladies, is that, men are completely fine just waiting it out. And we really have to realize that, because when we have the upper hand, that small window, when we have our youth and, everything is just where it's supposed to be, that is the time to attach yourself to somebody, even if they're not there yet. Men will get there. So they can wait it out. We can't. All right, let's keep going. Number six. Kevin's talked a lot about delusion as women. And ladies, I know we all want to see ourselves in the most positive light, right? That's true. But he replayed the show from Instagram with the woman who was the truck driver, and he really broke down her view of herself. That self-awareness part, it is hard the first time, but I think it's a muscle that we can flex. And again, know what our strengths are and know what our weaknesses are, and just be honest about it. I've shared with you, I've taken several femininity classes, and one of the trainings that I did on elegance was to have a friend like videotape you so you can watch your mannerisms, you can kind of see how you move. So that's a tip that I would give. Even if you can't do it in real time, looking at your reflection in the mirror, we all take selfies, right? So take a picture of yourself. And then if you think you look like Beyonce or something else, put a picture of Beyonce side by side or up on the computer screen and really look objectively at, how you show up and how, what you think you look like, shows up. Why would you do that? I think once we can get past the point of thinking, oh, I'm a 10, not only are you, able to enter the world, more realistically, that confidence, like Kevin talked about it, self awareness is sexy. I think it's sexy in men, but ladies, it's also very sexy in us. I know I kind of have this, mom appeal, if you will. Some people might like that, you know, me and my apron. Some people, may want, a different kind of, persona in their woman. And that's fine. But, being aware of yourself and your features and your flaws and just being able to say, you know what, hey, I don't have this, this, and this, but I can offer this, 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 and this. All right, so let's keep going. Number 7, it's been in the news a lot, and honestly, I don't know what happened lately, but the Will Smith versus Tupac. I think Kevin was making a comment about, again, all of us want, men, like a Will Smith, but we want someone in the bedroom like Tupac. So I'll just say this, right? You like what you like. In addition to being self aware, I think it's also very important. I'm coining the phrase to be mate aware. So, you know, we can definitely encourage our men and stroke their ego, but we also need to know, their strengths and their weaknesses. And, you know, if you've got a guy who is, I'm thinking of something, we'll use the young brother that called in. Let's say he does have an average salary, so he's never going to be able to take you on, an expensive shopping spree. Okay, if he's the man for you, then all of the other qualities that he brings to the table, and like Kevin said, he's still a man, right? He's still the one who's going to get up when things go bump in the night. And that's fine to have your, celebrity crush or your fantasies, but let's accept our men for who they are and how they are, because you wouldn't want someone to try to change you, right? We want someone to take us with all of our flaws. Let's make sure, of course, this can't be something that's a deal breaker for you. But if they're, I'll use myself, like I'm a social butterfly and I love to dance and, first one on the dance floor. My man is not, he'd rather kind of stay back with the, maybe a whiskey or something and just kind of watch me twirl around. It would be detrimental to the relationship if I tried to force him, to be front and center like I want to be. That's not going to work. So just be self-aware and be mate aware. All right, number 8, Kevin talked about, why can't I be right? He's gotten a lot of pushback from a lot of people about, who do you think you are? I'm really proud of him for, just staying true to himself, right? Isn't that why we're all here? Because we've learned from Kevin over these months and possibly even years. One thing that I'll say, I've heard from my man a generalization that a lot of times men say about women, because I've asked him, what are some of you all's complaints? And the exact quote was, you all don't listen. Ouch. That kind of hurts. But, it made me connect the dots with what Kevin was saying. We want to disqualify the messenger and we won't even consider what they're saying. So, ladies, if that's the reputation that we have, let's try. Even if we don't like that guy, even if we're not turned on by him, even if he's not the one that does it for us, if a man is speaking, take the time to listen because they don't usually go on and on the way that we do. So let's listen to our men. And if we don't agree, that's fine, but at least let's listen. Number 9. Kevin talked about how men, I took a note about suffering in silence. And, he just kind of went full circle with men have kind of been eating, what, for all these years, with women rejecting them and being disrespectful and showing them out in public and, all of that stuff. But men have just kind of taken it on the chin and just gone away quietly, kind of in monk mode, right? The way that he talks about it. So men can do that because in their mind, women, like everything else, it's a cost, right? And they can pay for what they want. If they want someone for a fun time or if they want an experience, they can just pay for that. They don't have to put up with the torment of a problem relationship like, we think they will, which leads into number 10, compare that suffering in silence to we as women who do not go into the night quietly. We go kicking and screaming. And to me, that just looks like, childish behavior. I'll admit it. We can all do better as ladies. Um, but let's realize that, especially for the men that are doing their absolute best, um, let's give them the respect that they all deserve. And even if we disagree, and even if we're not happy right now, let's be self aware. Let's make sure that we communicate effectively, know our strengths, and know our weaknesses so that hopefully we can all have better outcomes and not have a childish tantrum. All right, ladies, we're going to go ahead and wrap it up here. I think Kevin's already gone live on Instagram. So, again, if any of you ladies would be interested in having a conversation about any takeaways or themes that you've picked up from Kevin's shows, please let me know. And we're going to set up something where we can have an actual conversation. All right. I hope you all have a great rest of the night. Bye.